Welcome back to Acing AP Biology. In this lesson, we will be discussing the light reactions. The light reactions occur in the thylakoid membrane. It transforms light energy from photons into chemical energy held in the bonds of ATP and NADPH. Sunlight splits a water molecule and oxygen is released, along with electrons, which then powers an electron transport chain, just like in oxidative phosphorylation. ATP is produced through photophosphorylation. The thylakoid membrane contains photosystems, which are heavily involved in this process. Photosystems are embedded in the thylakoid membrane and are a group of pigment molecules. As I mentioned in the last video, pigment chlorophyll A is required for photosynthesis. Chlorophyll A is directly involved in the light reactions, and the other pigment molecules known as accessory pigments absorb light energy and transfer it to chlorophyll A. The accessory pigments include chlorophyll B and carotenoids. The accessory pigments are vital because they absorb various wavelengths of light, which allows the photosystem to take in the maximum amount of light energy. The carotenoids also provide photoprotection because they dissipate excessive light energy that would cause damage to the cell. The structure of the photosystem involves an antenna complex and a reaction center complex. The reaction center complex includes two chlorophyll A molecules in the center and a primary electron acceptor. The antenna complex contains various accessory pigments that absorb various wavelengths of light and pass the energy among each other, eventually moving towards the reaction center. There are two photosystems involved in the light reactions. Photosystem 1 is also known as P700 because it absorbs light best at the wavelength of 700 nanometers. Photosystem 2 is known as P680. Photosystems 1 and 2 have identical chlorophyll A molecules, but contain different proteins, so they vary in absorption. The light reactions begin when water is split by photons from sunlight. Oxygen is released as a byproduct. Remember that the oxygen product from photosynthesis comes from water and not carbon dioxide. Photolysis also releases protons and electrons. These electrons replace the electrons at photosystem 2. The photons absorbed by photosystem 2 help boost the electrons that were just replaced into the thylakoid space, and the electrons start moving down an electron transport chain. Two electron carriers include plastoquinone and plastocyanin. Plastocyanin is the most electronegative electron carrier in the chain. As electrons move down towards the most electronegative atom, energy is released, and that energy powers the pumping of hydrogen ions into the thylakoid space, creating a proton motive force. Then protons move back down the concentration gradient in a process called chemiosmosis using ATP synthase, and this powers the phosphorylation of ADP into ATP. This process is called photophosphorylation. The electrons from the first electron transport chain then replace the electrons at the reaction center of photosystem 1. Using the light energy it absorbed, it boosts the electrons up down the next electron transport chain. The first electron carrier is called ferredoxin. These electrons move down the electron transport chain until it is accepted by the final electron acceptor NADP+, which is then reduced to NADPH. This process is catalyzed by NADP+ reductase. This flow of electrons is called the linear electron flow, and it produces equal numbers of ATP and NADPH. However, the Calvin cycle needs more ATP, so light reactions also include a cyclic electron flow, where some of the electrons boosted from photosystem 1 go back to the first electron transport chain so more ATP can be produced. Notice that the products ATP and NADPH are released into the stroma so that they can go directly to the Calvin cycle. That's it for light reactions. In the next video, we will go over the dark reactions. See you then. For more bio content, hit subscribe.